Um, we'd like now to go to our next award category, and that award category is the service providers and facilitators. The service providers, including engineering, architectural, and consulting firms, as well as energy service companies, have recognized the enormous value and have increasingly embraced the RETScreen clean energy management software, and including our NASA power data products. Government and multilateral organizations, as well as the regulated electricity and natural gas utilities, also use the RETScreen software and NASA Power exclusively to help facilitate clean energy project deployment by their stakeholders and customers, and to help measure and verify the ongoing performance of their incentive and investment portfolios. So we'd like to announce our winner of the providers and facilitators category, and that goes to Stephen Dixon. And Stephen, congratulations, president of the TDS Dixon Incorporated Canada. And this is a picture of your certificate here that we'll be signing and sending out to you. So let me introduce you, Stephen. Stephen is the president of TDS Dixon Incorporated in Canada. Stephen Dixon is an independent energy consultant and trainer, including extensive work with RETScreen software and NASA Power, supporting a broad range of institutional, commercial, and industrial organizations. His activities include extensive energy training, performing energy audits, monitoring and verification studies with such customers as municipalities, large commercial property owners, government agencies, industrial facilities, and local utilities. Through his consulting and training work, Stephen has helped to build the capacity of a large group of energy professionals from across the globe in the use of RETScreen software and NASA Power. So Stephen, welcome today. You may unmute yourself and give us a presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm sitting in Prince Edward Island, Canada today. I actually normally operate out of Ontario, but I'm in this part of the world, and we're just sitting in the target zone of a hurricane right now. So it's kind of interesting here when we talk about weather and climate change and all the things that are happening. It's very apropos. So next slide there, please. First of all, just a big thank you to NASA and RETScreen for this award, because the recognition, I think, of what we've done will help us to do more in the future. And our mission is very clear: is that we have to change the way the world uses energy. I started off as an energy person many years ago, probably over 40 years ago now, here in this little province of Prince Edward Island, Canada. And they still are a world leader in this part of the country. And we've done a lot of work in terms of analyzing energy use. I'm an analytic at heart. So I mean, the way I look at things is that I think Andrew said it, if you can't monitor, you can't see it, then you're not going to be able to manage it. So as an analytic, I want to understand everything about the way a facility is using its energy and how it's behaving. And through that understanding, I can really begin to change the way that facility uses energy. So next slide, please. So thank you for the award, but also thank you for making these tools available, because I think that's incredibly important. I'll talk a little bit about how we use the tools. I'm usually very long-winded, but I'll try to keep it a little shorter today. Our mission, as I kind of alluded to a few minutes ago, is very clear. We are really focused on changing the way the world uses energy, but we realize we have to do this through people, one person, one idea, and one action at a time. I often use a Venn diagram which brings together technology, people, and organizations. And Andrew, I couldn't agree more. Tools like initiatives like ISO 2001 that bring together all these things are really important, and I think really will make effective change. But at the end of it all, you have to see the numbers, and that's where tools like RETScreen and the NASA Power Data really come in. What we spend a lot of time doing, and over the last 40 years, I've lost track, but it's somewhere north of 2,500 different training sessions. It was interesting, before the pandemic, we used to do 120 face-to-face sessions. Now we do a lot of them online. We do lots of different types of RETScreen training. We do customized training and certification training, certification 2 or 3 days, you get your CRE, but we also certified RETScreen expert designation, but we also customize a lot. And from that customized training, we're able to feedback a lot of things to RETScreen as well. So recently, we added a few little features to the new version of RETScreen. Thank you, Greg, for that, based on what some specialists in building envelope were asking for. So we're able to devise a simple way to present it, and it makes RETScreen even more usable to people. So our training is twofold. One is as I said at the bottom here, is to teach what we practice, but also practice what we teach. So as capacity builders, we are not about doing it for people. We do a lot, but we want people to do it themselves. So training in capacity building and the use of RETScreen is incredibly important. We've been leaders in this country in the delivery of training across the board in terms of energy. There's a very well-known dollars to cents energy training suite from Natural Resources Canada, another branch of NRCan from RETScreen. And we've been leading trainers and developers of that training material. And we've incorporated, I think, in almost every workshop that we've done for NRCan, we've incorporated the use of the RETScreen software, which again is facilitated by the NASA Power Data. And we're not limited to one particular sector. Energy behaves similarly in many, many different buildings. The nuances change, but industrial, commercial, institutional, residential, right across the board. And we've applied both our skills in terms of managing energy, but also the tools of RETScreen. I would say if we had to, besides training, if we had to sort of claim an expertise in anything, and I'm careful about claiming expertise because an expert is a person that knows when to turn the job over to the next person. But I will take claim to the fact that we're probably fairly well advanced in energy analysis. You know, the old joke is somebody sends you something and says, analyze this. I get that a lot. People send me data sets that I had known nothing about the building, and they ask me to analyze it. Well, I've done that type of thing, you know, well over 3,000 times using RETScreen. What's interesting is that we can often find things out about a building that I've never been into and I really know little about, or a facility, by using both the RETScreen analytics package, and I'll share with you a couple examples of where we've done this in things like manufacturing wastewater treatment plants. So what you can see by bringing the data together, both the NASA Power data, precipitation, temperature, solar radiation, along with the energy data, is incredible. So this tool suite really sort of puts everything at your fingertips. And we also use it to socialize, if I can say that, I guess, using some buzzwords today, the whole energy efficiency thing and energy data thing. We do a lot of creative approaches to finding opportunities. People call them energy trunts or energy treasure hunts. I know Energy Star in the US have them. We have a brand of it here in Canada. These are collaborative searches for opportunities. But again, people are not going to be able to find opportunities until they see the data and see the information. I remember one facility, we were doing an energy treasure hunt, and there was one person, she was actually the housekeeping person for this manufacturing facility. And it was interesting because we had a profile, a demand profile up on the screen that you can display within, as Greg was showing us a little bit earlier, the NASA the RETScreen analytics section under performance analysis. So we had this profile on the screen, and this person said, well, you guys are trying to figure out what's going on at night in that facility, which RETScreen is really good at being able to see, because using those low duration curves and those heat maps, you can do that. She said, you know, I walk around this place cleaning up at night, and I see a lot of things on. If you would give me permission to turn things off, I could probably save a lot of energy. We found $47,000 worth of opportunities. And again, it's by looking at a heat map or low duration curve or a profile and having the people that really have their hands on things seeing that information as well. So RETScreen is like incredibly important from that point of view. Next slide, please. So why would you use RETScreen Expert? Well, I think I've kind of already alluded to that already in what I said, but it puts everything in one package. It allows you to rapidly assemble data sets. And when I prepare for my training sessions and my collaborative sessions that I do, I need to be able to pull that data in quickly. People send me data that I've never seen before. I need to bring it in. I mean, used to be I would spend, you know, half an hour getting a file ready to analyze it. Today, with RETScreen's import capabilities, I can do that in probably 30 seconds. They send me various different formats of files. RETScreen will swallow it whole, allow me to dissect it, take what I need, and then integrate the NASA Power data against that, because there's always that driving variable no matter what type of facility you're in. And that's where the NASA Power data set, both on a hourly, daily, weekly, monthly data format, it's all there. I mean, I can start with the daily and go, oh, I need the hourly, pull the hourly up. I can start with the hourly, aggregate up to what makes sense for the analysis I'm going to do. It's all at my fingertips. I'm not limited to particular locations where there's a ground station. I can do that, as you know, anywhere on the surface of the earth within that half degree by half degree grid. Data cleaning is simplified. Data is never perfect, right? But by being able to bring this data together very quickly, run regression I love regression in QSUMs. I'm not going to go into them today, but because you've seen what other people have done with them. I know Greg talked about that, but also Andrew, they use regression in QSUM a lot. If you haven't done regression in QSUM, go have a look at it, but it's really simple to do in RETScreen. Regressing the energy variable versus that driving variable, which could be activity, production, and manufacturing, but it's also the weather, the outside weather, and that's where the NASA power data really comes in at being able to bring those time series data together and do regression analysis. You can switch between time bases on the fly in the analysis, and you can derive data, so the tilted solar degree days and other things. You can threshold precipitation data in there. You can put a formula in. So I can very quickly take that raw data from NASA Power and bring it into a form that makes it extremely powerful for me to understand what's going on in that facility. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go through 3 examples of how we've applied this. If you're doing an EBCX, that is existing building commissioning, you can wait a year and see how much you saved, or you can begin to do your verification, your measurement verification immediately. So this is an example where we're able to use, in this case, it was daily data, but today I would use hourly data and be able to see the impact. So I would have a regression model set up, right, which would then regress probably the gas or the electricity data against heating and or cooling degree days, maybe some occupancy data. Again, this data is coming from the NASA feed, from the NASA powered data. And then as I begin to do the existing building commissioning the building, immediately I can start to see those changes. So within 2 weeks in this example here, 14 days, 14 data points, right, we were able to actually see the impact of that recommissioning, the existing building commissioning, 7% reduction within that time period. So, and then you can begin to use it or continue to use it to make sure that you're maintaining those savings that you've made. So being able to get that data within a day or so, or even quicker in some cases, it allows me to act very quickly and to make this part of that existing building commissioning process. Rapid verification. Next slide, please. So a few years ago, we were called upon to actually build baselines for energy performance baselines, regression models for a gas utility that was doing an operational energy performance improvement program. It's basically a pay-for-performance program. So we went through hundreds, I think almost 500 facilities or 465 facilities to begin with, to come up with 100 facilities that met a criteria that we set statistically. And as Andrew showed, you can set your statistical criteria. He uses it versus the M&V protocol. I set my own criteria, which then is approved by the customer. And then we basically rapidly process these data sets using 2 to 3 years worth of historical gas consumption data and the NASA power data driving the degree days. In this case, it was heating degree days. So we can calculate the heating degree days in a number of ways. We can calculate using a max-min method. We can calculate using hourly data, or we can calculate it using a daily method. So we have lots of flexibility. We can also deal with the fact that sometimes a building might be located close to a body of water, but being more influenced by say an inland area. So we can use, again, being able to move that pin on the map, as Greg showed earlier, and pick up the right weather data. We can find the right weather data for the analysis we're doing. We use the regression and QSUM analysis to establish a model and then look at the changes and then figure out which period within the data set we have makes a valid baseline and whether we can get a valid baseline with the right performance or the right statistical criteria for this particular study. The other thing that's really interesting is that once you've established that model, that baseline model, and you've established the parameter, right, you know how good it is. Now you've got the model that actually will monitor going down the road. So, and if I'm doing an audit, even if I'm not doing, if I'm doing an audit, the first thing I'm going to do is look back historically and understand what's going on in that building. And the RETScreen tools, along with the NASA power data, makes it extremely easy to do that analysis as part of other things that I'm doing. So one more slide here, and then I'll wrap up.
Alrighty, we are at time, so we're going to have to wrap up now, if you don't mind.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Yeah. So if you flip over to that last slide, so time series data, really useful. Thank you. Happy to answer questions either by email or right now. Thanks.
Yes, thanks, Stephen. We appreciate your talk, and well, we hope you batten down the hatches there. It does look like a big storm about ready to hit there, Prince Edward Island. I just encourage anyone that does have questions to put them in the question and answer region. If they come in a little later, we'll certainly forward those questions to you. Thanks again, Stephen.